The communities from the 12 LGAs of concern have been crying double standards for the past 10 weeks. When do they stop becoming the 12 LGAs of concern? You've thanked them today. You said outstanding vaccinations. We know the virus is all over the state now. When do they just become treated like everybody else?
I experience, as well as our team, the day-to-day distress and trauma of people losing loved ones, of people ending up in hospital very sick for weeks and weeks. And our intention from day one has been to prevent death and to prevent hospitalisation and to support communities in as safe a way as possible. And I'd rather be having this conversation than having a conversation as to why we allowed thousands of people to die and why thousands of people suffered. I'd rather have this conversation than a conversation about consoling thousands and thousands of families who'd lost loved ones. None of this is easy. And I'll be the last person to suggest that. Try being in my shoes for a week. And none of this is easy. But every decision we take is to support our communities, is to protect people's lives and to allow us onto that path of freedom. And I'd much rather be having this conversation than a conversation about why we failed communities and had thousands of people die.
But do you feel like the message has gotten through to these communities? I mean, you've been pushing the message in different languages, but you're saying that the numbers are still highest there. Why is that?
Well, I'm so heartened that at the beginning of the process, when I spoke to community leaders and when we dealt with very just diverse and distinct communities, there was a lot of hesitation about the vaccine. And now we've seen those communities step up and have the highest rates in the state. I mean, Blacktown's at 88% nearly, a first dose. That is outstanding. We've seen an enormous turnaround, and the vast majority of people appreciate how difficult life is, but the vast majority also appreciate that it keeps their closest ones safe, it keeps their loved ones safe. And again, I'd rather be having this conversation than the alternative conversation, which would be why did we allow thousands of people to die? My job is to protect the community. It doesn't always make me popular, but I'm pleased to do it because I shouldn't be in the job if that's not my motivation. And if I felt for a day that we were letting down the community, I would certainly not make decisions in that regard. But our decisions, first and foremost, are to protect life, to keep people out of intensive care, and to protect the community so that when we do open up, the vulnerable are taken care of. And for many of those communities, the vulnerable, obviously, there's challenges in all parts of Sydney, all parts of the bush. So what we're doing now is, given we're at 75% first dose, which is fantastic, I won't sleep until we get over 80% first dose, because then I'll know that we're getting to that 80% double dose, because once you've signed up for the first one, you're going to get the second one. But what we're doing now is looking at those pockets where the vaccination rate for one reason or another is a bit lower, to make sure we boost that. But I just want to stress the point again. Every day, I ask the health team, and you can ask Dr. Chant because I annoy her every day, is there anything we can do to ease the stress on our citizens? But I can't afford, and we can't afford, to ignore the health advice, because then we see the trajectory go worse, and then we see all of us held back when there's too much disease in the community. And with schools opening up, our ideal is, and with all of us opening up in October, we want to see the case numbers and the proportion of disease as low as possible, so that when we open up, we don't have to worry too much about the disease spreading amongst those who aren't vaccinated, or allowing the hospital system to be overrun. These are all very complex decisions, and again, we make them to protect lives, not to be popular, and I don't really care about that, because I want to look back to make sure that every day we did our best to keep people out of hospital, to keep people alive, but also to provide that vital information. And I know, within my own circle, that there are various myths going around about vaccination, and that's been overcome. I'm so proud of communities and community leaders who've stepped up and helped us, because if it wasn't for the community leaders helping us, telling us where people were comfortable getting vaccinated, telling us what the challenges were and encouraging people, we wouldn't be in the position we are today. We are weeks ahead of any other state, because we've really worked hard to support the most vulnerable, to support those who may have been given misinformation. And I'm incredibly proud of where we're up to, and there's more work to be done, but I'm confident the track we've been on, as difficult as it's been, is starting to bear fruit. Things are starting to change in terms of the trends that we're seeing, and we obviously want to see those trends concerned. So even though we're seeing case numbers very volatile, and as the modelling showed, we're expecting the peak sometime next week, please know that at any stage, if we do something that changes that modelling, if we do something drastic that changes that modelling too soon, we won't be able to stick to the plan. So it's just a delicate balance of protecting people but also giving them the freedoms that we can. And that's a delicate balance that we have to undertake every single day.